Well, hello, my friend. My name is Joe Bakhmutsky. I am the founder of Power to Be Happy and also the author of Finding Hope in Times of Uncertainty, a guide to thriving in the challenging world of today. And listen, living with change is hard, especially change that you didn't ask for, and it just pulls you in. Well, it happened to me in my life, and I was at the beach one day. I was on the ocean, and I just decided to go for a swim. It was a beautiful day. The sun was shining. The water was just beautiful. You know, there was just gentle waves rolling in, and here I go. I go inside the water. I slowly just going in, and then eventually I was probably 5 or maybe 10 meters away from the shore, and I just decided to lie on my back, just bask in the sun, enjoy the water, and it was just a beautiful moment. And I noticed all of a sudden something started to change, something started to shift in the water. So I kind of decided to get back up. But the weird thing is, I noticed that I couldn't stand anymore, right? Like I couldn't, I just couldn't stand for some reason. It was just water. I was like, well, that's weird. I'm just like, okay, I'll swim back. I'm pretty close. So I started swimming back. And what I noticed is this weird thing is that I'm not getting any closer to the shore. Right? It's weird. I can see it right there in front of me, and yet I can't even get close. So I thought, well, I'm gonna go harder. So I really started to, just pacing myself and really going for it, And still, I wasn't getting any closer. And that's why I started to get worried. I redoubled my efforts. Like I gave it just everything that I had. I was just really going for it. And that's when the waves were picking up. It was getting harder. I was like, and I still see that the shore is just as far away as I was. And all of a sudden I just like get hit in the face by a wave, and like my mouth is just full of water. And that's when I start freaking out. I freak out because I can't. So all of a sudden I'm losing my balance. Of the water is everywhere. The sky is filled with lead. There's no one around that I can see, and I'm struggling to breathe because it's just full of water, and I'm freaking out. And so I start screaming, "Help! Help! Somebody help me!" And it was just lucky that I felt something come up from behind me. And it was the surfer, and as the surfer, he was obviously out on the surf, and he had this board with him, and he helped me onto the board, and he kind of guided me towards the shore. And as I was just sitting there on the sand, I was just panting, with him. He said to me, I said, listen, he said, the rip got you. The rip is like this underwater current that just kind of swoops in, and you can't see it because it happens under the water. But when it kind of pulls you in like that, you can't go against the current. You can't go against it because it kind of goes. You have to go sideways. You have to go with it, right? If I hadn't gone straight to the shore, but if I'd gone sideways with this current, it would have carried me back out, and that gave me a profound insight into change, especially the change that you don't ask for, right? Because we try to really just go against it, we fight it, we try to do what we can to go against the change, and yet the best we can do as the starting point is to accept the change and go with it. It doesn't mean that you need to embrace it with open arms, because sometimes it might be tough, it might be traumatic, it might be difficult, but we want to be able to accept the change. So we start living our lives with it or around it in the best way that we can. And I think that's a starting point of where we want to be, especially in a time of crisis, especially in a time of uncertainty, where you don't know how things are going to turn out, where there's a huge amount of pressure, there's a huge amount of expectations, and we all gotta find our best to deal with it. This is why, my friend, I want to share with you my 5 key principles when it comes to tackling change. when it comes to dealing with this change and dealing with change in the way that really serves you and your way of life. And the first one is this is a poetic principle, which is we look to the rainbow when the sky has been burst. You know, and what I mean by that really is that when you go through a difficult time, it seems like it's never gonna end, right? It doesn't seem like things are gonna get better. We don't see that the totality of life. You know, I actually experienced it. You know, that connection when I was, first time when I was, I guess my memory was when I went out of urologist office, and I knew he's given me the scans, and he's given me the diagnosis that I had testicular cancer. And I remember holding those scans, and I was standing outside, and there was this beating rain hitting me over the face. And I remember just feeling so helpless, and like I was just drained of emotion. It just hit me so hard. And I remember just feeling so useless and hopeless. And I didn't even feel anything on the inside. It was just so empty. And at the time, I felt like nothing would ever change. And it was only, I remembered this time, when 3 years later, I was just in the backyard with our son, and he was 1 year old, I think, at the time. And I remember this beautiful moment when there was sun and the clouds. I remember him just, we had the soccer ball lying on the ground. He was kicking it, and and he was holding my hand. It was just a beautiful moment. Him holding my hand, but he kind of was gripping onto my finger with his entire hand. And it was just a beautiful moment because we were laughing and we were chasing. It was just being alive and in the moment. And what's made it all the more special was just me bringing back all the past experience, all the struggles that I had with cancer, and that moment with the diagnosis, and all the other difficult times that came in between. But eventually it made me be in a place where I could appreciate life, not because it's perfect, not because not because it always works out the way you want it to, but because we are there in a circle of life, and we don't always get to see how things might turn out. This in no ways justifies the suffering and the pain that you might be experiencing in the moment. But please know that it doesn't have to last forever, that things change. And even though we have no guarantees in life, we have no guarantees. We don't know what's going to happen. And yet we can hope. That's why I said that we look to the rainbow when the sky has been burst. We don't know what's going to happen, and yet we hope for the best. So even when when there was a storm, and there's been rain just lashing down, we don't know whether it's going to continue on, whether it's going to start up again. We don't know. Maybe there's going to be hail. We have no idea. But yet we hope that there's going to be a rainbow, and that the rain is going to stop and the sun is going to come out. And that's the hope that we want to maintain within ourselves when the times get tough, when we go through difficulties and change and things don't really go your way. Hold on to hope, my friend, that things can and do change for the better. That's why we look to the rainbow when the sky has been burst. The second principle is what you seek in life is what you get. Oftentimes in life we we go through life, especially when just life throws a curveball at you, and we don't know where to look. We don't know what to do with ourselves. For me, it's been the case when I came back home after chemo. I had the operation, and I came back home, and apart from feeling miserable physically and having all sorts of side effects and after effects, put on heaps of weight. I like my head was all over the place. I have so much fatigue. There was all of these things that were going on, but yet at the same time, I also felt like so many things in my life just didn't make sense anymore. I mean, I used to be really passionate about my career, but I realized, this isn't really my life's work, right? Because I just don't feel as connected to it, because I guess my life and perspective has just changed dramatically. That's why I started my podcast. That's why I wrote my book, to do something and create meaning in my own life. And that's what I continually found. That the only way to get clarity about what you really want in life, the only way to get clarity about decisions that you make, decisions that you won't regret, the only way to get clarity whether you're on the right track with what you're doing, with your hopes and your dreams and the ambitions that you might have, the only way is to know what you're really going after. What is that feeling you seek on the inside? Because what you seek, my friend, is exactly what you get in life. Principle number 3. It's alone that we suffer. And together we hope, my friend. That's one of the key messages, in my book, in Finding Hope in Times of Uncertainty, a guide to thriving in a challenging world of today. Because there's a big reason why we go through life, with other people. That's why we fall in love, why we make friends, why we, live in communities, why we live together. We're meant to be living together. And not only just so we can better ourselves, not only just so we can, have a better life or more opportunity, but also so that we are there to support each other, to support our, us in good times, but also in our struggle, to support and be there for each other. First of all, around each other and with each other when the going gets tough. This is especially vital because what we tend to do when we go through a difficult experience, when we go through a tough time, we tend to close off. Isn't it true? That we tend to kind of step back because we lose touch with people around us, because they may not be able to relate to you as much, or so you might think, or, you might not feel as much of a connection with them because they might not be able to understand the experience that you're going through. And that's often can be true sometimes. But that's why it's so vital to bring back that connection, to spend time with people, to explain and educate people on what you are going through, on what you are experiencing, being there to listen to them, spend time with people, share your story of struggle. Tell people explicitly how they can help you directly, because this allows people to step up for you. Because the truth is, my friend, that when you go through a tough time, and I know that you know this, but I'm here to remind you that most people, they really want to be there for you. They really want to come out and support you and be there for you on your terms, but they don't know how. They don't know how. They don't know what they should be doing for you. They don't know how they can come out and support you in a meaningful way. That's why it's so vital to tell them. And just tell them, just be explicit, whether it's telling someone in person, saying, listen, I'd love for you to do, any one of those things, help us with this or that, or just tell people, say, listen, when being direct with people, sometimes it's really important not to say what is often expected or is considered to be polite. For example, when someone says, "Hey, how you going? How have you been?" When you run into someone, we often tend to say, "Well, good." Like, let's just say something that is just kind of keeps the conversation going. When what you really want to be doing is just saying to people what's really on your mind, saying to people what's really important to you, and saying, hey, listen, you know what, to be honest, I haven't been having it easy lately. And chances are person will say, well, what happened? And so it turns into a conversation, right? We often are afraid of talking about our struggles because it kind of, there's this, I guess because we see it, in our culture, that it has to be some big speech and some huge revelation and some, kind of epic, reveal. And yet, the reality is that it can be just part of normal conversation when we let ourselves to just be direct and pull back the just politeness and just be frank with people. Because the people who truly care about you, I promise you this, the people who are gonna still be your friends, your confidants, the people who truly love and cherish you, they're gonna be so grateful. They're gonna be so grateful that you let them be there for you and directed them towards meaningful action, because you've just made it easy for them to support you on your terms. Number 4, my friend, no rhythm, no progress. It's become a reality in my life. I've noticed, whether that's in personal life or whether that's in professional life, the way that we live our day, we get things done when there's a rhythm, when there's some kind of a predictable pattern to everything that you're doing, right? Where you might have, this might be different for your weekdays, it might be different for your weekends, it might, there might be variation to how you go through, through your day. But when you have that rhythm, when you have that consistency, like the way it is in music, right? There's a rhythm that keeps the momentum, that keeps the melody going, that keeps things moving along, that everything builds around. You don't have rhythm, you don't have progress. If this can apply to anything you love. If there's no rhythm, it's very hard to stay on track. And that is precisely what happens in a time of change, because it throws you off. It throws you off whatever rhythm, and you might have had a complex or multi-layered rhythm going on. You might have had different commitments and different things going on, but you've been knocked off your game. That's often just happens just when you go through change, even though you've come back from a holiday, right? And you sometimes struggle to get back into your routine. And that's why it's so important, if you've gone especially through a big amount of change, is to really consider, like, how can I rebuild my day? How can I rebuild my week? How can I rebuild just my month? How can I have some kind of a rhythm? It doesn't need to be, it doesn't need to be some kind of, high level of performance. Don't have to be achieving massive things, but you gotta be doing things steady. Starting with maybe a morning routine, something you do each morning, every day, and knowing that you're doing it in a particular order, something that makes you feel good, something that makes you set up for the day. For me, every single day I start off by doing exercise. Either go for a run or I do my exercises in the garage. I have breakfast. I journal. I as I drink my coffee, and I reflect on the day before, and I plan for the day ahead, and it really sets me up for the day, right? It really sets me up, and because I know what's gonna happen, and I don't have to waste, my mental energy, if you will, on just coming up on things to do. I feel good. I feel ready to, to go and work and be with my family, and it really sets me up. And what can you do, my friend, to bring back that rhythm into your life so that you feel that you are moving forward consistently? So maybe it's a morning routine for you. Maybe it's a wind down routine, because this is something that I found really powerful in my coaching sessions. It's setting up a morning routine, setting up a wind down routine so that you can really separate your work and your home life can be crucial to getting back that rhythm into your life. Because remember, no rhythm, there's going to be no progress. Number 5, my friend, the more you give, the more you feel you belong. This comes from, I guess, this idea that when we go through a tremendous amount of change, we get disconnected from kind of that sense of purpose, of having meaning in our lives, because so much has shifted, and that's a normal part of the process, and we want to be able to reconnect with that. But when you think about change, in many ways it's kind of like moving to a new area, right? You moved into a new area, you've got a new place, and you want to be able to settle in, right? You want to be able to put down your roots. You want to be able to settle in your new home. You want to get to know the surroundings. You want to kind of maybe make friends with the neighbors, make friends in the community. You want to maybe join a club. You do and show up at your best in your work. In other words, you give your best, right? You give kindness, you give your passion, you give whatever it is that you have, right? You give the best of you, right? You bring it on and you give it to others. And that's how we connect, right? It's that principle of what you give is what you get. It's always true in life. And the same is true for that sense of belonging. Because the more you give, the more you feel you belong. And it doesn't have to be some epic, gestures, or you don't have to give millions of dollars to a particular cause, or be some model of selflessness or what have you. Giving can be these small acts of kindness, of good grace, of showing up passionate, of being in the moment, of listening, of being friendly, of just doing nice things for people that they find helpful, smiling. These are, and I know that you know this, but these are the things that change the world. These are the things that run the world, And even if you feel empty on the inside because you've been through a lot, I want to remind you that giving is an art form. By which I mean to say, you created out of what you have on the inside, even if you feel empty. The beauty of art, the beauty of creativity is you get to create it. If the painting wasn't there before, it's there today. If the words are not out on the page, well, they can be written down. You have everything that you need already inside you, my friend. You already have that living inside you. The beautiful experience of living with passion, of living with meaning. You are resilient. I'm here to remind you that you, my friend, are resilient. You have been through things. You have the capability to figure things out. You can do this. You are here, and that means that you can belong in this life to feel good about yourself and the world around you. Because we all have the power to be happy, my friend, to seek greater clarity in life, to show up at our best every single day, no matter what that is, and to hold on to hope that no matter how tough it gets, that things can and do change. And if you're looking for more inspiration and support, then check out Finding Hope in Times of Uncertainty, a guide to thriving in the challenging world of today. And you can get this book. I've got a really special offer for you when you buy the digital edition of this book. And I'm going to give you some incredible bonuses because I really want you to get the most out of this book and help you to deal with crazy times that we live in today. So to find out more, so please head on to awayfromuncertainty.com. That's awayfromuncertainty.com. You can also find the link on powertobehappy.com. So whichever one you use, you can find out more about the book right there. I hope it has been helpful to you, my friend. My name is Joe Bakhmutsky. Thank you for being here. Look after yourself.